Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Happy holidays. I know it's been a while. Well, today I'm gonna be showing you how to make a peel-off barcode on Protopie. So let's get into it. So first thing first, what you're gonna do is to create a new pie, which I already did. And then for this, I'm using iPhone 11 414896, but you can use whatever you want to because it doesn't really matter. And then I just use the black background just so it's visible. Okay, so moving on to the layers, I'm just gonna talk about everything that we have here. So all of these were imported from Figma, but I'm not gonna be making any tutorial showing how I made this design because it's pretty basic. So it's just all of this barcode. It was actually grouped, and then when I imported it here I had to ungroup them, and then I used the background as a max object, and then I gave it the color white, so it's the white background you're seeing around here, that is this, and then the radius was 20 and it's a color white, so pretty easy. I'll still be dropping this file and I'll make it open to everyone just in case you want to look at mine and play around with it, but I would advise if you have your own style so you can learn. Okay, cool, moving on. So that's it for the barcode, and then what we have here is text that says view barcode with. I made this soft. I know this red thing here is just something on Protopie. I don't know if it's visible, but if you can, let's look at the preview here. You can see that dotted line. So I just made the design just sort of the way a ticket feels like, and then when they tear off you can just see like that whole tear design thing, if that makes sense. And then what I just did here, so it's what we call text. So it's this text here, and then the rectangle is what's behind it. So all of these were imported from Figma, just so you know. And then the base finally is the background of the ticket. I chose a blue color, but you can use whatever you want to. Just simply make a shape and use the height of 347, and rather the width of 347 and the height of 89. So you can really follow along if you want to, but if you feel you want to use a different size, you could. So that's that for this. And then what I'm gonna do first is to create another max for this, and I'm just gonna say why when we start making the animation. So moving on, I'm gonna go to the shape, or you hit R on your keyboard. So I'm gonna select the rectangle, and let me zoom in a little bit. So I'm just gonna start drawing this just about where that red indicator is. So we want to make sure it hits this red dot here. Same thing on this side, and the height too. Yeah, cool. So if we check, what I use is 335 and a height of 775, so you can use that if you want to. And we don't need a fill because we're just gonna max everything, so I'm just gonna dead the fill, and then I will move this up here. And for this barcode, I'm gonna select the two of them and right click and hit group, so they basically stay the same. So what I'm gonna do now is this rectangle we just created, you select that and hit use as max. So I'm gonna say why it's important for us to do this when we start making the interactions later. So we'll just call this max so we remember it. I know One thing I hate about prototyping or designing is renaming layers. It really sucks, and I find it really exhausting to do. But for this, it's really important in case if we're searching for the layers right here, it's easy for us to find. So we're calling this max, and then that's kind of it. So I'm just gonna rename this to barcode. And here we have it. So we'll start setting up all of these layers in one, so it kind of feel more real. I know it's just looking really rough right now. So I'm just gonna put these here first. So the base is at the bottom and the text is on it. And then I know you're thinking, oh, they should go underneath the text, but we're gonna be putting this at the top, and you're gonna know why soon. So I'm just gonna center this, and I'll make sure this text is centered and this center, so easy. So I kind of did you see the thing with the dotted lines, I kind of did it in a way that when you tear they see. So this looks like it's open, and then they could see the barcode, and you see after the peel off, you can still see the line that feels like a tear edge around it. So that was like the trick I used to make this barcode. You know what, I'm just gonna move this just a little bit because the edge is here, and I'm just gonna move it down. Just about this is good. And just move it up. Okay, so to mimic mine, it's the X value is for the barcode is 421, and then the Y is 420. Okay, cool. So before we start adding any triggers, we're gonna have to create a peel area. So I like to call it a peel area. So it's where the area where when we pull the edge that is going around it kind of like stays. So we're gonna make it in a way that the edge is a little bit slanting, and then it just curves and goes out of the screen. So to do that, we're gonna add a container here. Just gonna select these, and then from the red dot again, I'm gonna start drawing. So let me zoom in to check again that it's, yep, that's good. And then yeah, and then I'm gonna drag it down just so we have enough space for the edge to come down this way, because when we're peeling, we don't want to peel too straight, and it's gonna feel really robotic and not real. So when we open stuff, it kind of like curves down that way. So that is this area I'm creating for it. So I think about this size, you don't have to make the height too much, but I think around this should do. And then I'm gonna call this peel area. You can call it whatever. I just like to use things that I can understand, use names rather that I can understand. Okay, so that's it for this one. And then inside this, we're gonna make the edge that is gonna move out. So to do that, we're gonna create another shape here. I know you're thinking so many shapes. Okay, so we're gonna do this. So let me just zoom in to check again that that's good. And it's exactly where we want. Yep. Yep, so the height, the width and height I used is 335 and 76. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is to give this a radius because we don't want it to be sharp. And then the fill, I'm probably gonna use a lighter blue with this barcode. So no, I think this blue is too dark, so maybe let me move this, so maybe around I think this is okay. Yep, you can use the hex values I used here, but like I said, I'm gonna be dropping this pi file for you to use. Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do now is to move this, so let's call this turn edge, and then we move this inside the peel area, so kind of stays inside of it. So we're gonna click this and then we're gonna drag it. Let me just move it out of the box because we don't want to show it right now, and then it's obstructing the main barcode. So we're just gonna put it here. So just make sure it kind of sticks here, just outside the dot, not inside. Okay, cool. And what we're gonna do is to rotate this by 345 that way, and there you have it. And then we just created the peel area. So but I see in the preview that it's sort of showing, so what we're gonna do to get rid of it now is to clip the sub layer. So you go to peel area and then you scroll down, it's just at the bottom, so you check clip sub layers and then it just goes away. Not permanently, but if you want to look at it, it's just right here. Okay, moving on. I think we're getting close. So but the last thing we just have to create before we start is the pole shape. So basically where we're gonna touch and drag to pull all of these in the x-axis. I'm just gonna call it pole shape because you get what I mean. So a rectangle again, and I'm gonna drag it around here. So let me just zoom in again to check. So put this up here and I'm just gonna put this down here. So I think about here should be okay to pull. Yeah, around this is enough space for us to put our thumbs to pull through. So we're gonna dead the fill, we don't need the fill. And then we're gonna set the origin of these to here. So these are like boxes here if you're confused. I put it on this one, so well, if you don't know, you can just type 100x and 50y, and then let's rename this to pull because that's how I remember it. Okay, let's see if we fix a constraint for the pin area. So for this one, okay, fix weight height, but the origin is we're gonna move it here. So 100 and 0. I know you're thinking, okay, how do I know this? Like I said, I already tested this animation a couple of times, so I kind of know everything, and I'm just making it easy for you guys to use without having to go through this. So just hit 100 on the X and you hit 0 on the Y, and then that's about it. So I think that's the only places we have to set this origin for. So okay, moving on, let's start making the interactions. Yay. So we're gonna go here and add a trigger. So I'm gonna choose pull, obviously, and then I'm gonna use this pole shape we just created, and the direction is this one because it's, you see the arrow is towards the left side because we're pulling in this direction. But if this the case is if we're pulling in this direction, so if we're kind of pulling the back off from here, but it doesn't make sense, so I just stick to the left one where it's we're pulling towards this direction. So you just want to hit the second one, and then for the distance we're gonna type in 300. Like I said, I tested all of these and then I know the value is ready, so just hit that and we're gonna add a response. So the first one is gonna be move, and then we're gonna change this to the pale area, which is this. And then what I want to say here is that when the pull from here, when we start pulling from here, we want this to move out of the screen. So it's around minus 10 should be able to move objects out of the screen. So, but if you want to see how that works, so let's just go back here, and then if I change this to minus 10, you kind of see that this already moves away from the screen. So you could choose minus 20, minus 30, but I just stick to minus 10 because I know, okay, that's the end. And then it's the same thing we're gonna do for add another response and hit move, but we'll change this to pull, and the same thing again. So what we're simply saying is when we pull, we want to be pulling away from the screen. So hit the same value, minus 10. And if I try to preview this, I know nothing really works now. It's just fixed because we haven't added the other triggers. So we're gonna add another trigger here, and we'll be using what we call chain. And then what we're gonna select is gonna be the pull, and here it's gonna be the X is already selected. Just make sure it's X because we're just working on the X axis. We are not pulling towards here, so up, down, we're just pulling the left and right, which is the X axis. So that's why this is selected here. So the first response we're gonna add is the scale. And then what we'll be scaling here is gonna be the max. So the max, remember, is in here, this max that we created. So basically the barcode. So I'm just gonna click this back, and then we just search for max and add that in. Okay, so I know these look very scary. So trust me, it's nothing more. So what this is simply saying is the X position of the pull object, which is this, is at 376. So if we hit the pull, we see that the X is at 376, and then what we want to do is if it's at 376, which is now, we want the size of the max to be 0. So 0 meaning we want to hide everything. So basically when we preview this, we don't want this to open now, so we just want to open it when we're pulling it. So I'm just gonna add another range here. So the second one I'm gonna add is when the pull object gets around here. So let's just do that manually, but the value that I'm gonna add is 60. So I'm gonna click the pull object and I'm gonna drag it here. Now what, I'll turn on the fill so you guys see. I'm gonna drag it here, so just towards the edge of these, and then, oh, I said the right thing, and then it's at 65. So let me just undo that. Okay, so what we're simply saying, just make sure you didn't have to follow me to drag the stuff. I'm just giving an example, but just make sure you uncheck the fill. So for the scale, we're gonna go back, make sure the pull is at 376 and 45. 7. So the scale, what we're gonna say in the second range is when the pole is at 65, which is at the edge, the left edge of this pin area, we want the width to be about 318 is what I'm gonna call it, but I'm not really sure. So we're gonna have to test it now. So if you look at the preview first, before I jump on to explaining why I put 318, if you look at the preview, you notice the barcode that we had here is no longer here. So that's what this first range just simply means, that when the pull object is at 18th right now, we don't want the barcode to display, so we just made it 0. We made the width 0 to hide everything. So that's what it simply means. So the reason why I put 318, let's get to it. So what I'm gonna do is to hit the max. Yes, the max is inside here, so you select the max and then let's set the width to 318 first. And I think that's too wide, so I'm just gonna click on the max and then use the arrow to drag. So I want it to hit the pole object, so I'm gonna select the pole first and let us fill it in so you guys see, and go back to the max. And then you notice the max is overlapping the pole, the width. So what we're gonna do is just to make it stay at the side. Do not make it exposed like this, just make it stay here. And the value of the width was 311. So I'm just gonna uncheck this back, and we just need to get the value. So that's the trick. So it's 311. Just have that in mind, and I'm gonna drag this back to where it is. I think around 336, 335. Okay, 335. So we know that now. We checked and the width is 311. So if I try to pull, oh, it just stops there. Let's see again. Pull, it just stopped there. Okay, so this is what I want. I wanted when we're pulling, it just stops to the point where we had our pull object. So for now it's looking really ugly, but let's keep going. I'm gonna add another arrange. I would have simply added a response on a scale and added a range again, but it's just easy to just keep adding more here. So I'm gonna add these, and what I'm gonna say here is the last one we said was when it got to 65. So this pull object when it's at the edge, but instead of writing the same value, we're gonna say when it gets to 64. We want the max to be of the full size. So what we're seeing right now, so we hit the max and then we go to the width, you see it's 335. So what I'm saying is when it gets there, we want everything to be visible. So it basically opens the ticket. And then for the next one, the value I'm gonna add should be this. So the way I'm gonna find this is we're gonna use the pull object again, and we're gonna put the field. Trust me, I know it's complicating, but it's an easy way for you to understand the values. So I'm gonna move this around. Okay, you know what, I'm gonna undo that to see. Okay, 376, just to know. So we're gonna move this around here. So yeah, so around here, if the pull, so what I'm simply saying here is when the pull object, so if we pull and it gets to here, we still want the barcode to display. So meaning when we stop pulling and we release our thumb, it still displays. So that's just how you should understand it, if that makes sense. So if I hit the pull object and then I look at the position, I see it's around 41, the X value. So this is mainly the only value you should be after is the x, because we're working on the x-axis like I said earlier. So that's that. So I'm just gonna move these back to the spot, leave 376. So for the scale, I'm gonna add that now. So when it's at 41, we want it to be at 335. And then I forgot to remove the fill. Yep. So let's see. So you can see, I know you see if I'm pulling, it's sort of pulling this way, but we're gonna have it fixed in just a sec. But you can see the stuff is making sense. If we pull and then I'm still holding my mouse, but the moment I release my mouse, it's gonna open. So everything is gonna open. So that's what we just kind of did here. So let's make it look really good, because I know this looks very awful. Okay, on to the next one. I'm gonna add another response here, and that's gonna be for the move, and it's no longer gonna be the pull. What we're after, if we expand this peel area, is this, the turn edge right here. So the blue rectangle shape we created. So we're just gonna search that, I believe is this. And then what we want to say here is when the pull object is as it, so that's if we're not pulling right now, we want it to still be at the same X position. So if we look at it, it's the same thing here. And then we want the move at the same time, we want the turn edge to still be at the same position, if that makes sense. So if I click that, I see it's 335 and then this is 0. So I'm just gonna add the same value, so 335 and 0. And then this is what the real thing happens. So the X position of the pull. So what we want to say now is when we pull and it gets here, so basically the same thing we did, I got to the edge right here, away. So when it gets away from the screen, and that should be 41, we want this to be around, I already know the value, so I'm just gonna add that in. We want it to be around 19, and then the Y should be around 80. So that's simply saying, okay, if I click the turn edge and then I kind of pull it down, so I'm just gonna hit the same thing I did, 1980. So it's just simply saying when we drag, we want it to pull towards and this direction and move this way, but kind of like in reverse. So let's see if that works. I'm just gonna undo this and preview this. So yeah, we got it. And then I release, it swipes away. So we want it to pull this way. Yep, it's good. I know you're thinking, okay, what is this? This is a mess. But you're gonna see the magic happen in just a second. But have the value. So at 41, it's 19, the X, and then the turn edge Y position is at 80. And then last but not least is gonna be another move response, and then this one is gonna be for the peel area. So what we're saying, the same thing is when it's at 376, we want the move of the peel area, so mainly the X position of these to still be at 376. So and then when it's away from the screen, so away from the screen, the pull object is 41, because if you go back, that's the values we've been having here, 41. We want this to go away from the screen too. which is 41. So look at that now. Oh yeah, you kind of see like the thing is, it curves like away. It has a way. So if you look at the edge, it kind of had that curves, but the only thing we're gonna fix is this is going in reverse. It's supposed to pull with it, so I'm just gonna fix that in a second because I really don't know why that's happening. So I'm just looking at maybe what we probably didn't put. Okay, I rather probably didn't put. So let me see. It has something to do with the max, so everything is okay here. Let me just go take a look at this. Aha, I see. It's the origin within set, so it's supposed to stick to the right. My bad, sorry. So just open the barcode container and you hit the max, and then you set the origin to be at 100, and then this should stay at 50. My bad. So let's see if that works. Ooh, it works. Awesome. Just look at it again. Yep. So if I release, it kind of like goes back. So if you swipe back and it kind of closes, it's pretty cool, huh? Let's see one more time. Perfect. So guys, this is the end of the tutorial. I know it's a little bit complicating, but I advise you should just rewatch this a couple of times. Make sure you download this file and follow along with me. Practice on your own, and I bet you're gonna figure everything out on your own. If you have any questions though, make sure you drop it below down in the comments. I'll be happy to help anyone that has any issues. Maybe yours is not working fine, or you have something to do with the max objects not coming up, because I went through that same issues too when I started doing this. Believe me, it was really tough. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you guys for watching. I'll make sure I keep making more tutorials, but for now, happy holidays everyone, and enjoy. Bye. Thank you.